and welcome to a new vlog. If you're new to the channel, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jeff.
And today we are going to be talking about how to pick a Disney cruise.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about the three main things that go into picking your Disney cruise. First being which ship you're going to go on, second being which location you're going to go to, and third being how long you're going to choose to cruise for.
Yeah, so this is one of the questions we get the most. So There are a ton of different Disney cruise options out there. So if you're taking your first Disney cruise ever, or maybe you've already done a Disney cruise and you're like, what is next? Hopefully this vlog will help answer some of those questions.
Yeah, so which of those three do you want to start with first?
I think let's start off with ship, because there are a big variety of Disney ships, but...
So again, this will be what we do and how we kind of view picking your Disney cruise, but for us, the ship is actually going to be the least important part. So unless, you just need to get on the brand new ship or you're trying to sail on all the ships, unless there's some unique thing going on like that, we generally would not recommend picking your cruise based on the ship itself. They all have unique characteristics. They're all fantastic. We love all the different ships for different reasons, but that being said, we almost never pick a cruise for the ship.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the first one we want to hit at, because it is a question we get a lot too, related to this. If you want to know all the differences between the different ships and all the unique characteristics, we have a separate vlog covering all of those details. But truly for us, when we're picking a Disney cruise, the other two things that we'll go into more detail about, so the location and the length of the cruise, those should be, for us, the things that are your big factors, because no matter which ship you're on, there's incredible unique Disney magic that makes them all special. So I completely agree with what Jeff said.
Yeah, and that being said, like I said, if you need to get on a certain ship or you're trying to complete something or do something like that, yeah, by all means pick the ship you want. But generally speaking, we do pick based on these next two things far more frequent than we would based on a ship.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, so, but if you do have any questions about any of the ships, leave us a comment below. We're happy to answer them, or we have full reviews of all of them as well.
All right, so with that, you want to talk about location?
Yeah, so I think location is probably the most important one, I would say. So for me, that would be the number one factor. And when it comes to location, again, there's a ton of different Disney cruises. So we're going to kind of take all the different locations and put them into general groups. Even though within each of these groups, there's kind of specific itineraries that you can get to. But you want to start off with our first group?
Sure. So I guess the four groups we're going to talk about in general would be kind of like your island cruising, your Bahamas, your Caribbean, kind of that traditional what you would think of as a Disney cruise. We're going to have Alaska as its own group. We're going to have Europe or European cruises as their own. And then we're going to have kind of another group that might be transatlantic or, the Panama Canal, things like that are kind of standalone cruises. So those are the four groups we're going to talk about. I think we should talk about the probably island or the Caribbean Bahama cruising first, because that is the most common.
Yeah, I think if you think of Disney cruise, you're thinking of the exclusive Disney island destinations like Castaway Cay and Lookout Cay. You're thinking of the sun and the breeze and maybe a pina colada. So yeah, I definitely think those itineraries, if you think cruising, you're going to think those first.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think, assuming you're coming from the U.S. especially, those are going to probably be your easiest entry-level cruises, right? They're the shortest. They're from Florida, or sometimes you can get them in Texas. But they're going to be those cruises that you go out, you have a couple days at sea possibly, maybe you go to Nassau, you do a private island, you come back. Great way to get kind of accustomed to what Disney cruising is.
Yeah, and so I think you're going to want to pick this location. Again, if you want those kind of beach vacation vibes, you want the beach aspects, you maybe want a little bit of relaxation with your cruising. Some of the other options we'll talk about later are, I'd say, more activity off at the ports. So if you want to maybe relax on the ship a bit more, spend some time on a beach and relax, if that is kind of what you're wanting from your Disney cruise experience, I think this location area is going to be the best option for you.
Yeah, so I didn't even think about that really, but that's a very good point. I think that a lot of the other locations we're going to talk about are as much an appeal for the location itself as it is being on the Disney cruise. So you spend a lot more time probably off the ship, exploring, checking out those different ports of call. Whereas these Caribbean and Bahama cruises, I think, are more built towards you being able to experience what Disney Cruise Line themselves have to offer, whether it be on the ship or even at their private island.
Yeah, and then the only other thing I'll say about this location choice, so I will say that if you are choosing to do, especially one out of Port Canaveral, Disney World's only an hour away, and you're probably flying into the Orlando airport, so a lot of people will maybe do like a 3-night cruise and combine it with a Disney World stay as well. So if you're looking to spend time in Orlando and you want to kind of like pair it with a cruise, unless we'll talk about some cruises go out of California later if you want to tag that with Disneyland, but if you're looking for like that combo type of trip, also this is like your go-to option.
Yeah. And so I guess with that, we can kind of move on to the next group, which I guess isn't really a group, it's Alaska we can talk about next. I think that is a fabulous cruise to do if you are looking for adventure, if you're looking to go to ports of call, if you're looking for unique scenery and the ability to see sites that, just aren't available 99% of the places you're going to be visiting. And so for us, Alaska is a great cruise if you're kind of an adventurous type or you want to be a little bit more active on your cruise. Still has all the Disney magic that's going on. It still has all those Disney touches. You are on a Disney cruise ship, and a lot of the ports actually have some Disney things going on once you disembark. But that's a great option if you're interested in some wildlife and some exploration.
Yeah, I think it's a great combo, like Jeff was saying, where if you still want like the Disney characters and the Disney shows and all of that, so you still get all of that, but yeah, it's gonna have a lot more adventurous excursions. I will say this is a good one. It might be one of our, if not our favorite cruise we've done. So it was really like just unique dog sledding on a glacier. You could go hiking. You can go on whale watch cruises. You can do so many things in nature. But I will say that even though we enjoyed it as adults, there's also plenty of families on there. So if you have everybody from teens who want to go out and explore something new to little ones, there's still activities. A lot of people think Alaska and like, I can't bring my little one on it. But no, we've had friends that brought like 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds on it.
When we did the dog sledding, you take a helicopter up to a glacier and dog sled, and in your helicopter, you're kind of fit with whoever fits in. And we had, I think, maybe like a 4 or 5-year-old girl and her mom were flying up there with us. So yeah, it's for everybody.
Yeah, so there are activities for everyone, and incredible scenery, incredible experience, and then again, you still get that Disney cruise touch when you're on the ship. I will say the trade-off here is obviously you're gonna have to travel up to the port to get on the ship, which typically sails out of Vancouver. Yep. So it does maybe take a little more effort to get there, but it is incredible.
Yeah, and I will just quickly mention, if you are someone who does still choose based on your cruise ship, don't worry here, you don't get a choice. It's typically the Disney Wonder that sails up there.
Yeah, so and we'll talk more about kind of like timing and the length in our second part. But yeah, I think that kind of summarizes Alaska. So if you're looking for adventure, really magical scenery, but still with those Disney touches, it is an incredible experience and we highly recommend it.
Yes.
And they do give a variety of offerings. So those cruises go basically
pretty much the entire extended summer.
Yes.
Yeah, so extended on the early and late side usually. You can, what you typically consider summer season.
Exactly, yeah. So there's plenty of them to choose from. All right, our number 3 location clump.
Want to do Europe?
Yeah, let's do Europe.
All right, so another fantastic way to see the world, explore, and still get that Disney touch. So in Europe, you're typically, not always, but you're typically going to be sailing out of London, or just technically Southampton, which is I think about an hour south. That's one of the most common locations to leave from, but they do cruises through Norway, they do cruises through the Mediterranean, they do cruises through Spain, all over the place in Europe. So it's a really great opportunity to get over there and see Europe from a Disney ship.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like 2 pros. So I think you have people from Europe who this is going to give you that Disney magic and Disney cruise experience a little closer to home.
A lot closer.
So if you are a resident in any of the European countries, like obviously it's going to be much closer for you. And I think a great reason to kind of take advantage of that. But if you're coming from the US like us, I think the European cruises are still extraordinary experiences. Again, still all those Disney touches. We've done a Norwegian one, and with those, I think in comparison to Alaska, you're gonna have maybe a little bit more like history, especially if you do like a Mediterranean cruise or one of those. So you're getting not just beautiful scenery and nature, but you're also getting a lot of those historic cities touches as well. So for me, that'd be like the main difference. Look at the kind of where you're going to port, because obviously Europe is large. So like decide kind of where the ports of call are for the itineraries that you're considering. See if those kind of match up to what you want, the cities, the history. And I'd say like that would help you kind of narrow down, because again, the European ones, there are a lot of offered cruises over there. So within that though, I think you can kind of make your choice based on the ports of call there.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, for instance, on the Norway one, it wasn't big cities and history as much as small little remote towns with also history, but maybe in that case, the appeal was that you can't really get to these places if you're not on a cruise ship or some, you know, taking some very long out of the way drive. So in that case, I think the appeal to us was we got to go visit places that you really just couldn't visit without going on a ship.
Yeah, easily. It definitely would take more navigating, so rather than just waking up and being in a port. But yeah, and then again, the Mediterranean ones are also great. There's several that go along the whole Mediterranean coast. So lots of options if you're looking to go. So if you have Europe on your bucket list, it's the Disney cruises there are a wonderful option.
Yeah.
All right, and then our other category is other. There's a lot in there.
They're unique ones,
they're unique,
right?
Yeah.
So for instance, Panama Canal, right?
Yeah.
You can sail through that with Disney. You can...
There's a lot of, so again, I mentioned earlier, if you're in Disneyland, California, or if you're going to Disneyland, California, there are some shorter cruises that will go out of, I believe, San Diego.
Yeah, I believe so.
So if you're looking to do a Disney cruise and you're in the Southern California area, or getting to California is easier for you, it could be a perfect option for that as well. So there are a lot of smaller ones, and then if you want to do a long cruise, there are the really big transatlantic cruises or trans-Pacific cruises, depending on which one you do.
Yeah.
So those will also take place, and those are long cruises where you get lots of time on the ship.
But they are typically very low cost because they are considered repositioning cruises. So it's not like Disney has to move their ship from, for instance, America to Europe for the summer. So there's only one way to get the ship there, and that's to sail. So if you're willing to take a sailing that, you know, isn't really designed as much as a typical itinerary, then you get, you know, some of those benefits of lower cost and probably lower occupancy.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to like picking or how do you pick your itinerary, I think it's going to come a lot down to like what you and your party wants out of your Disney cruise. Do you want more relaxation? Is there a place you've always wanted to visit? Do you want something more convenient? So I think kind of get that general sense first, and then once you know, like, yeah, we want to do the Caribbean, or yeah, we want to do Europe, then start looking at the itineraries and see within there, like, what are the ports of call that it's going to, and from those ports of call, do any of the excursions or port adventures look more interesting to you? So I think kind of start with your big, like, what do I want out of my cruise in a general sense, and then use that to kind of narrow down into maybe what itinerary is best. But I think the itinerary is, for us, the number one choice when you're picking a Disney cruise.
Yeah, it's absolutely number one choice. I would 100% say pick your Disney cruise based on where you want to go and explore and experience. That'll make for the best trip, regardless of what ship you're on, regardless of what length, regardless of anything. If you're excited to be at the destination that you've chosen to go to, the rest of it will be that much better. And
my last thing I'll say before we jump into the next thing is, again, a lot of people do the Disney cruises in the Caribbean, Bahamas, the islands. They're amazing. We love them. But also, I'm so glad we've done Disney cruises outside of that into Alaska and Europe. And so I always recommend, like, try other stuff too. So it's keep going, do with what you like, go with your gut. But we also really have enjoyed the other options as well. Yeah. All right. And then the other question we get related to this is going to be, how long? So Disney has a variety of options to choose from when it comes to the length of your cruise.
I will say, for length, this does primarily apply to those cruises that are in the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the reason why is, you know, your Alaska cruises, you're typically going to see 7-ish night cruises. Europe, they're going to be set lengths. Trans-Pacific or, you know, transatlantic cruises are going to be the set length. It's not like there's going to be a bunch of them of all different time periods. So when we're talking about length, this is, again, primarily going to be your choice of how long you want to be sailing throughout the Caribbean and the Bahamas.
Yeah, that's true. Unless, of course, like you're like, I only have 4 nights, then you can't go to Alaska. Like
Right.
that's automatically gonna rule it out.
Yes.
But yeah, so it is gonna come down to mostly if you're looking to go out of Florida. I think that's a good point.
So yeah, the lengths that are, the ones that are available are going to be the 3-night, the 4-night, 5-night, 7-night.
Those are the most common.
On occasion, there might be something else, but those are the ones you're going to see regularly scheduled throughout all the years and throughout all the calendars.
Yeah, and then I think how do you pick between this? I think it's partly going to depend on just your schedule, so what can you make work, and then also budget. So obviously the shorter cruises are going to be more affordable. The 3 nights are typically going to run over a weekend, so that can be very convenient with work, where you'll come in on a Thursday night, the cruise ship, or maybe even a Friday morning. The cruise ship leaves a Friday, and then you disembark on a Monday. So if you don't have a lot of time flexibility with work, those are very, very convenient.
Yes.
I will say the downside of a 3-night cruise is that you get on that ship and then you're already sad that it's going to be over soon. So it's a great way. So do a Disney cruise. If it's like a 3-night or I can't, we've done many of them. We love them, but I do like a slightly longer cruise just because you get to relax a little bit more.
Yeah. So for me, the perfect length is 4 or 5 nights. That's more than enough time to kind of relax and enjoy the ship, not feel rushed. The 3-night, like Sarah said, it's over so fast. I've never gone on a 3-night cruise with someone, ourselves included, where that third day or that third night ended and we were just all like, yeah, I think we're ready to get back on land. You just always want it to go longer. Whereas the 4 and 5 nights, not that you want to get back on land, but you feel like you're satisfied. You've had enough time to do everything you wanted.
Yeah, there is a lot to do on the Disney ships, and so I think having that extra night or two definitely helps with being able to kind of like not feel like you have to rush. You can relax a little bit more. The 7-night cruises, so they're definitely going to be perfect if you want to, again, sit back and relax.
Yep.
So if you're looking to do, as Jeff mentioned, like the Alaska cruise or the European cruise, a lot of those are going to be the 7 nights, at least 5-7 nights. So they're gonna be at the longer end. So again, if you're doing those, you'll have all the ports of call, all that kind of stuff. Same if you're doing it in the Caribbean, Bahamas, you're gonna have a longer one, but I think it just makes it a lot more relaxed when you're in. You get the island life. So you're still gonna have islands that you're stopping at. You're still gonna have ports of call, things to do. But I think the 7-night just gives you a lot more time to kind of relax.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. There's no rushing on a 7-night cruise, right? You pick the ports you want to go to. You stay on the ship the times you don't. You have plenty of time to do everything you want on the 7-night. But those are the 4 most common.
Yeah, I will say also the 7 nights usually are going to have at least like a day at sea or multiple.
Multiple, yeah.
So I think that does also help too. But yeah, those are like the main breakdowns of those. I will say general takeaway for how to pick. Do you have anything you want to add?
Just that you should really pick based on where you want to go, assuming your schedule allows for it, because that'll be the best experience.
Couldn't agree more. So yeah, I definitely say look at those ports of call on the Disney website. If you go to the Disney Cruise website, you can filter based on the different itineraries. You can filter based on the different lengths of the cruises. And if you want, you can also filter by the ship. So again, going all the way back to the beginning, if you found like 2 Caribbean Disney cruises and one's on the Magic and one is on the Treasure, I know those aren't the classifications of them, but if you're trying to decide, maybe the newer one would matter for you, maybe the one wouldn't. But so if you're debating between 2 that are basically the same for you, then dig into the ship and try to decide. But generally, I'd say again, pick on itinerary first, then number of days based on what you can do, then get to that ship aspect. But yeah. If there's anything we missed or you have any questions, please leave them down below. Happy to answer them.
Yeah. Thanks for following along.
Thanks, everyone.